The flow-on effect of having the entire Aseret HaDibrot bypass Moshe Rabbeinu provided the Bnei Yisrael for the very first time with a connection to a level of Kedusha that was the Ma'ala Mitam Vadat, beyond the abilities and limitations of a finite human being to reach. And using the terminology that we have used previously, this was an Itaruta de Le'ela, totally at the discretion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and is referred to in the Hasidic Kabbalistic world as a Matana. This Matana provided the Bnei Yisrael with the Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and also the strength to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu at a level described as Kabbalat Ol, so that even in the face of situations that are logically untenable, the person is willing to have Mesirat Nefesh in abiding by or not violating the Tariag Mitzvot. We also define the term Goral within the framework of Medrash Kabbalah, that this Itaruta de La'ela from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is referred to in the texts as a Goral. The Goral not being a random event that people attribute to this imaginary force of luck or good fortune, but rather a controlled set of circumstances that emanate from a level that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat, a level that is also termed the Ruach HaKodesh. And on this basis, we can link the Aseret HaDibrot to the concept of Goral, in that they reflect a level of Kedusha that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat, and with this, we can address the issues regarding the statement that Ha'over al HaGoral Ka'over al Aseret HaDibrot. For once we have redefined the term Goral within the framework of Medrash and Sod, that it refers to a level of Kedusha that is metaphysical, that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat, it comes as an Itaruta de Le'ela at the discretion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and hence it is termed a Matana, a level of Kedusha that is akin to the giving of the Aseret HaDibrot. Then the statement of Ha'over al HaGoral made by Rav Sadia Gaon, that he who undermines the authenticity of a Goral is Ka'over, as if he undermines the authenticity of the Aseret HaDibrot. For within the world of Kabbalah, these two seemingly unconnected items can have a commonality in that both the Aseret HaDibrot and the Goral reflect a level of Kedusha that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat. Having linked the concept of Goral with the Aseret HaDibrot, we can now return to the issues regarding the Goral that was a vital component for the distribution of land to the various Shvatim. One of the questions was that if the distribution of land was to be dependent on the size of the respective Shvatim, as clearly stated in Bamidbar 33:54, L'Rav Tarbu et Nachlato, to the tribe that has a larger population, their inheritance shall be larger, whereas Vilama'at, to the smaller tribe with reference to numbers, Tamit et Nachlato, their allocation was to reflect a smaller population of the tribe. And furthermore, we have the problem of two very different systems being used for the division of land. One, a system built on seichel, logic, fairness, one that relates to the distinctions of the population sizes between the Shvatim, and then a second system based on Ruach HaKodesh, one that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadas, one that does not require justification for its outcomes. Now, however, that we have established that there was a component within the Aseret HaDibrot that was Lama'ala Mitam Vadas, that came as a Matana, we can extrapolate the Matana concept to the allocation of land amongst the 12 Shvatim. The fact that the distribution of land to the Shvatim was deemed to be a Matana is reflected in a statement in Masechet Brachot attributed to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, the Rashbi, who proposed what could now be termed as somewhat of a Kabbalistic metaphysical concept that Shalosh Matanot Tovot, three valuable gifts, Natan HaKadosh Baruch Hu YISRAEL, were given to the Bnei Yisrael by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And these were Torah, ERETZ Yisrael, and Olam Haba. Obviously, Olam Haba relates to the metaphysical, Lama'ala Mitam Vadat. Torah is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat, as we have explained in the earlier panels. And then we have ERETZ Yisrael, which by extension also, if we read Matana as reflecting a level of Kedusha that is Lama'ala Mitam Vadat, then the concept of ERETZ Yisrael at its core functions at a level that is beyond the limitations of the finite individual to comprehend. That is not to say that there is not a physical ERETZ Yisrael, a country like any other country, but there's also a spiritual counterpart that is linked to the physical. There is one caveat, however, that we shall be looking at in the next and final panel. That caveat is, V'kulam lo natnan, ela al yedei yisurim. All three, Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba, does involve a degree of pain and suffering on the part of the recipients prior to their receiving the gifts. This special relationship that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has with Eretz Yisrael, and I should add a personal note here that we are not dealing with the concept of Israel as a country proposed by the secular Zionists, but the Eretz Yisrael of the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, in which Moshe Rabbeinu, in the year 2488 before he died, described to the nation how he envisioned Eretz Yisrael, describing it as an Eretz asher Hashem Elokecha doresh ota. Doresh linked to the word medrash, to inquire, to ask about, to be interested in, to be involved. That this is a land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu inquires about its welfare. It is not to be a nihiyeh kagoyim, nation state. That tamid, continuously, mireshit hashana vad achrit shana, from the first to the last day each year, Einei Hashem Elokecha ba. The eye, the watchfulness, the caring of Hashem ba is on it, the land. This, of course, is a dual-edged sword. While it is a view that is both positive and comforting, it also carries with it some responsibilities. So that, in effect, Moshe, in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is stating that the events affecting Eretz Yisrael involve situations that at times will be lemala mitam v'dat, and this level of Kedusha, an active involvement from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the land, came from the very outset with the initial distribution of land to the 12 Shvatim, Vaye Elamala Mitam Vadat, metaphysical Goral.